Hello, Clara. Welcome to the Sacred Remembering podcast. So good to have you here.
Thank you, Sarah. Great to be here.
I saw your work on Instagram and you were talking about the man within, and it caught my eye, and there was this, teaching and presence about the need for women to go beyond reclaiming the feminine and also reclaim the masculine, which is something that I'm very, very passionate about. And so I reached out, and here we are. And this is the first time that you and I are getting to know one another also. So I'm really excited to talk with you today. I'd like to read your bio. Yeah. I'd like to read your bio for everyone. And then I want to hear some of your story from your mouth. Clara is a feminine empowerment guide, dakini, and soul initiation mentor for women seeking to live from their true essence and fullest potential. For the past 15 years, she's been committed to soul searching, training extensively around the world, and now facilitating within some of the most respected mystery schools for transpersonal development and embodied spirituality, including ISTA, the International School of Temple Arts, the Shambhala School for Soul Initiation, and the Haydn Temple Mystery School in New Zealand. She draws on an embodied knowledge of Tantra, shadow work, esoteric psychology, and shamanism to hold containers in which disowned aspects of our human nature may come into integration and become fuel for soul expression. And she's supported thousands on this path to wholeness and erotic empowerment through retreats, ceremonies, and trainings worldwide. Clara is the creator of the Man Within program that we're going to talk about today, a 30-day online intensive that has helped over 250 women understand, cultivate, and embody the healthy aspects of masculine energy within them. And you can find more on that at themanwithin.com. Such a pleasure to meet you, Clara. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I feel for those who want to find it, name that the website is manwithinprogram.com.
And I said it wrong. Okay, great. Thank you.
It's all right. Yeah. The Man Within is the name of the program, but Man Within program is the one. Yeah.
Thank you for setting us on the course there. I would love to go through a little bit of your personal story as a woman. This podcast is called Sacred Remembering. And so we're talking about the path of activation that we're on as modern women, to remember things like, I have to activate the masculine inside of my female body, or, all of those realizations and remembrances that we have on this soul journey. And so I wonder if you would start us off with some introduction to you and your journey and your soul journey and how you came to the work that you do now.
Yeah, for sure. I feel maybe it's relevant to name that to begin with, I had always perceived myself as a feminine being, or more identified with the feminine energy, or more comfortable there, however we want to put it. And so, through being raised in a female body and through the transmissions I received, that got reinforced, especially from media. And throughout my life, now when I look back, I realize how much I was then, a part of me was seeking to balance that with the masculine, but the only way I knew to do it was to look for it outside and seek it, like take from it outside, take those reference points. And that meant, finding a boyfriend, projecting that onto teachers or mentors and guides. And really not realizing that that could be within me at all. In fact, I remember being a kid and asking for boys' toys and being told, "Nah, you're not going to want that. You'll leave it out behind. You'll ignore it." And now I'm like, wow, I would have loved to have those cars or those trains or whatever.
Yeah.
And so moving forward to later in life, after mm, the fourth or so relationship that um, ended, and I mean, I've had beautiful long-term relationships, but something in me was like, what is it that is not fulfilling me, or that I keep seeking in this men that I've been with, but that, you know, um, hmm, that seems to, the fact that I'm seeking it seems to be the problem. The fact that I
Perfectly
am,
said. Yeah. Uh-huh.
yes, causing tension or dependency even, right?
Mhm.
So it really, it really hit me. It's like, I need to do something drastic. Like a part of me sort of, awakened and was like, you can search this within you. You have heard about it. You have even received already some teachings about sacred masculine, sacred feminine. It's all within, regardless of gender. How about you go on a quest to find him within you, and really figure out who he is and what he likes doing and what his gifts are and what his challenges are, and so on. And that's what I did. That turned out to be like a 30-day, like an intentional 30-day quest, which I set for myself. I was like, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just for 30 days going to let him through.
Wow.
Whoever shows up, like, and learn about him, and kind of giving him the space, the permission to come through, to show up, and to inform me, to reveal himself, so that I could learn really who he is and how he can relate to my feminine and have that beautiful inner partnership.
Yeah.
So that's briefly how it kind of unfolded, and it was the most transformative thing I ever did. Actually, it's just like, yeah.
As soon as you said that you got that intuition to do it, this like chill kind of went up my spine, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, there it is, like there's the, the soul, like a
Mm-hmm.
seed of, why you're here. And
Mm-hmm.
then, and then you do it, and then you find out what you find out, and then you create the thing, and then
Mm-hmm.
you educate others and inspire others. And so I love that moment, like
Mm-hmm.
distilling that moment
Yeah.
of the call and then answering the call, which is like,
Yeah.
masculine's got to answer the call.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
the question that came up as I was listening to you, that I imagine others are asking, that's kind of how I interview, is like, I'm listening and then I'm thinking, what would people be wanting to know next? And I want to know what you found. Like, I want to know what you found on that, in that 30 days. Like, can you expose a little bit of that for us?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, I found many things, mainly him. I guess as he revealed himself, I found, for example, let's say his stage of maturity. So I refer to that with, maybe, he was around 19, maturity wise, late teenager. And so that already gave me some, like, wow, okay, well, no wonder you've been a bit uncooperative until now. And
Like an immature masculine.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like, it's maybe just kind of doing your best, but not really having any reference points of how to do this man thing, this mature man thing.
Yeah.
So that already gave me some compassion. I was like, okay, up until now, I've said that you're not around, that you don't show up, that you're not helping me, that because of you, I'm depending on outer men, blah, blah. But here you are, not so developed, And then I found that that was, precisely because he had no reference points for mature masculinity growing up. So he was doing his best with the reference points from culture and society and media and other men around him. And whoa, from there I was like, okay, well, let's work on it. And I also found that he was very willing, like eager to learn, to mature, to develop, to show up, to step up, actually, and receive and embody this, we can call it mature masculine, divine masculine, healthy masculine qualities, and to actually to bring back this word of remembrance, to actually remember them from our core, from source, from nature, to actually tap onto that divine masculine all around us and remember it and relearn to embody it and bring it through. So that learning that he was very willing was also beautiful, because he was like, oh, bless you. And so let's do this. Let's be a team. And boom, next thing I know, he's the one who's making our bed each day. He's the one who's making sure I do my stretching and my yoga practice and getting us like the best ingredients for our diet and our health and what we need. He's the one making sure, it's like, wow, honey, what, thanks, like, and so, yeah, and I could go on about so many things I found, like his specific hobbies and other gifts and superpowers that he has. I learned he's the one, when I'm holding space, he's the one holding the space and loves doing that. There's a mix of the feminine there as well, of course, to feel the space, but he's the one holding that presence in that safe container for others' experiences to unfold, many things I found that then I could just like celebrate him for. And that's something also I learned. It's like the masculine grows through being rewarded for the things that he achieves, through the feminine's appreciation. It's like, wow, you've achieved that. Thank you. I see you. Kind of enlivening and empowering him to continue step up and overcoming challenges and things like that. Oh, so much to say.
That was the reward. That's so wonderful. And I'm just listening to you and I'm kind of in awe, because for as much as I've done in this realm, like the work, quote unquote, that I've done to reclaim my relationship with the masculine, I've never called it the man within. And so I'm like, I've never seen it through this lens. And so I'm just so grateful that you're here with your unique transmission on this. Because I think how I see it is, like, I talk about the feminine as like archetypal, the masculine as archetypal, and then I'm being with these energetics inside and noticing like the interchange of the energetics on the inside, which is what you were saying in a different way. So I love it. So for women listening, I want to say too that I'm guessing before you did this, before you discovered the man within, in these other relationships, maybe these 4 relationships prior, or relationships with other men in your life, women do this with like fathers, workplace advisors, that kind of thing. Were you frustrated at them for not doing some of the things that that you just described, like for not making the bed, for not providing the ingredients for a healthy body and healthy meal and kitchen and home? And so were those things that you wanted from men and you weren't necessarily finding?
Maybe not those particular things. That's a great question. Like, I hadn't considered what was I seeking, maybe that I wasn't getting. If I tune into it now, I believe maybe, I just wasn't being met. I felt I wasn't being met more like maybe emotionally, spiritually, or even in intimacy. I think that's those are more of the aspects where I was more frustrated, and then it's like, oh, like seeking something else, seeking either more depth or more understanding, more holding. Yeah, I think for each person it'll be different. Maybe others are seeking more direction, or more support with their mission, more a sense of purpose. I think it'll be different for each person. For
I do
me,
too. Yeah, I do
yeah,
too. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Mm. See, but when something that I also felt very strongly as I was meeting my own guy, let's say, was, when I said I got so much compassion when I realized that he didn't have so many role models. And
Yeah.
this then extended onto compassion for all mankind, because it's like, wow, all of this time I've been kind of blaming
Mm-hmm.
men for some of my perils and tragedies, and and this is not fair, and how can this be, and and of course, and we know there are some inequalities, especially when it comes to gender, but it was getting to an extent of just by default blaming, and they're the cause of all that's wrong in the world.
Yeah.
And then with this realization in myself of trying to download, let's say, the mature masculine, I was like, whoa, it's not that easy, it's not that accessible. And who's going to start, like, where are we going to get this healthy reference points,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's one thing is to blame and point fingers, but hey, we're all in it, and so that turns more into, it's not a matter of pointing at genders, it's more, it's more systemic, right? It's more of an issue with the system that we are under, and the habits and the notions, let's say even like telepathic agreements that are in the field around gender roles and what we're supposed to or not supposed to do. So it brought a lot of compassion for those in male bodies and how hard it is to be a decent man,
Mm.
um, not to justify poor behavior, but to really kind of lessen the finger pointing and the blaming.
I
Yeah.
love how you said that. Yeah. Yeah. I
Mm.
love how you said that.
Mm.
Hmm. So I'm feeling into like the energetics of how the feminine changes when this work is done, and how the
Mm.
masculine changes when this work is
Mm.
done. And
Mhm.
not done as in finished, but done as in engaged with. Right. Never done, never wholly finished.
Mhm.
But we are, to your point about the old structures and paradigms that we've been handed, we would
Yeah.
like to see them upgraded. And this inner alchemy work, inner marriage work that you're doing and describing, will change the quality of both feminine and masculine
Mm.
within. And
Mm.
I'm wondering if you could speak to that.
Mm.
It's a broad-ish question, but your interpretation is just fine, however you go with it.
Mm. Absolutely. Ah, yeah. Thank you. I love these questions. um, mm. Yes, as we've been saying, once we work with one and the other, with one energy, the other one will be affected or enriched, even. So what I have found with focusing so much on maturing the masculine is that my feminine has like softened, has like, ooh, okay, there's someone home
Yeah.
holding the situation. Not all the time, there's still some way to go for sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But she felt okay. Whenever I don't find it out there, like I would want to, I have this to return to. I have this inner pillar. I have this container to move my emotions. I have this other part of me to hold me, to witness me, to validate me. And and that's what I mean by it's softened, because it stops being so hooked on finding it outside. So, what's the word? Yeah, hooked or determined or fixed on it must come from outside.
Yeah.
So there's many ways in which my own feminine got enriched. I guess there's a sense of your being, the feminine being elevated and more honored. It's like, yes, honey, up until now, you've been in a certain frequency. You've been doing your feminine thing, but now, here's the space to go deeper. Here's the space, to deepen into that femininity, into that quality of the feminine that's still almost unexplored and almost unknown to society, and that is emerging. So there's like a greater permission. Why? Because there's someone there, yes, holding the space, witnessing it, creating the circumstances for her, quote unquote, to grow, to be, to emerge, to create, to bring her gift, to blossom, and to deepen, also to deepen her roots and her vibration. So it's exciting. As I'm saying it, I'm like, woo, because I know there's a deeper frequency of the feminine that we're kind of beginning to tap into. And I'm excited about.
Yes. And I love that you're saying deeper. I mean, it is deeper, it's more expressive, erotic, and that only can come when the feminine feels, let's say, safe to embody. And yes, this message that you're continuing to give, and I'm just repeating of looking for what you want in the external field, and then saying, what is my inner masculine doing? I have so many examples of masculine projection in my life along my journey, just so many. And my inner masculine was like pushy. It was a little pushy, and like wouldn't stop for her, wouldn't like let her go to those depths or let her rest. It was like, oh, I can fit in just one more thing, or but the job completion, the task completion was a little pushy. It was like just getting things done to get things done, like in this production mode. My inner masculine has had a lot of that, still does, like have remnants of that for sure. And I have to like watch it. And my last partner, I mean, this was like over a year ago now, but like his masculine mirrored that. I mean, I had literally like partnered with someone in the external who was beautiful in many ways, but this shadow aspect of the masculine was like reflecting back to me. And as much as I would be frustrated that it was there, because when I felt it from him, my inner feminine would get a little uncomfortable, or just like she couldn't relax, or she couldn't go to the depth. I mean, it was kind of like she was being rushed, and couldn't fully express, and he didn't have any patience. And it was like, oh, well, where is this in me? I mean, it was a very familiar thing. And so that's the kind of, humility that this kind of walk requires as well. But along those lines, I would love to hear you speak. And you just kind of alluded to it, but, I kind of want to look at the converse, like, how does it continue to degrade the feminine? How do we continue to degrade our own feminine, with the finger pointing, with the like reliance on an external masculine? I really want women to hear this, because for all of the reclaiming of the sacred feminine that we're doing collectively, which has been wonderful, like we have needed to get her out of the grips of oppression, like we have needed that. But then that feminine that has reclaimed, the sacred feminine, and is like, maybe still pissed about oppression and still finger pointing, like I would love to hear you speak to how does she continue to degrade her own femininity by making this, external projection of the masculine?
Mm, mm. Wow, great question again. And there's many ways to take it. What's coming right now is when we point outside the issues with the masculine, and we blame it for most things, we're forgetting that indeed that's an aspect that is also within us. And I know this is obvious, especially hearing everything we've said until now. But what I want to bring, especially maybe if someone's hearing and saying, well, I'm going to, stay with my, fighting everything that has to do with male domination and whatnot, it's like, I would say, consider that the soul that is incarnating this vessel is neither man or woman, it's genderless, and it's actually both of those things, masculine and feminine. We don't even need to call it that, but that polarity is there. And you carry that, we carry that. No amount of finger pointing is going to release us from that energy being in us. And what happens a lot of the time when we are pointing towards a perpetrator, if we point strong enough and aggressively enough and passionately, although maybe violently enough, is that we will become the perpetrator, right? So it takes a really humble and honest look at oneself to be like, where am I doing those things? Just like you said before with other partners, and where am I carrying that? Because that's one of the ways in which the shadow likes to speak to us, right? Through where we project where the most intensity is, like when we most like viscerally disagree with something, and we're like, that's disgusting and inappropriate, and it's like, whoa, okay, something's resonating in here, inside. Ooh, where in me am I carrying this behavior? It may not be the same, of course. Maybe you're not going around abusing women, but where in you is the part of you that may take without consent? For example, just as a, there's many ways to take without consent, and not just by being overtly abusive. And just to bring I don't know, maybe we're going off topic, but just to bring an example in which some female bodies may become abusive, let's say, is through the emotional body. We can break boundaries or disrespect boundaries with our emotional body and penetrate without consent with our emotional body. So that's something that just because, we are women and we like, it can get a bit expressive with our emotions, we're just take it. You're here, you're supposed to hold space for me and listen to it and just, be, and sometimes maybe the other person, regardless of gender, but, let's say Maybe it's a man who also has a feminine inside, and maybe it's like closing, getting almost even frozen at the intensity coming at it. Okay. And if we continue, that's penetration without consent.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to bring that here to also see that we may be in this outer container, but inside we've got these two energies. We've got many energies, but let's just go with this too, right? And it's our job to see how that inner relationship is going.
Yeah.
And is it abusive? Is it harmonious? Is it one overpowering the other? This is what this work is all about, ultimately.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I feel to just share another story to, for anyone listening who's like, but there has been oppression, there has been, abuse. It's like, there has been. Absolutely. And I think it's important to, we're not sweeping that under the rug, of course. But I know in my experience, because things had been taken from me as a woman, very deliberately, very purposefully taken from me, like by man, by father, there is a natural, well, in this matrix reality, there's a natural reaction that happens that's like, well, my power was taken from me. I'm going to have to take power back. And I think, entire feminist movements have been built on that. And so, I talk about this when I talk about the consumer program, I call it, because it's like, it's like a consume or be consumed, like old, nasty rhetoric. It's like, and the consumption of the feminine, but that's a whole other thing. Actually, I won't open that up. And so, but our inner masculine can be behaving. I'm repeating what you said in a different way. Our inner masculine can be repeating those oppressive, dominating energetics, behaviors, over others and other bodies, and also over top of our own feminine.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's an
Every
inside
day.
job. There's
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, there's healing of the masculine, healing of the feminine, inside job every day. I would like to ask you how your relationships with men have changed since doing this work.
Oh, for sure. Okay. Well, going back to when I first did this was 2017, I noticed an immediate shift already when, what I was doing is literally letting also my masculine choose what to wear, how to do our hair or not do it, and all of that. Makeup, hair up, very practical, very just, And within the second week or so of being in this mode and moving as him, I noticed the brothers around me actually listening to what I had to say. That was already like an immediate shift from before. Maybe it was just like a different interaction, like, I don't know, here's Clara being bubbly and light and da, da, da. And now it was more like paying attention or even asking for my opinion or considering me. And I noticed this thing among men or in the masculine, which is like, you show your brothers you're to be trusted, like trust is not earned, it's not granted just because you're there. Among men, this is kind of you do need to kind of earn it through your actions, following your words, your actions following your words, and through being in integrity, and through indeed keeping your word, and so on. So this vibration I was emitting through this time, already I noticed a shift. And then taking it more perhaps to personal or to intimacy, there's been many instances where I've noticed with my partner him being grateful that I was bringing my masculine in when he couldn't hold whatever I was going through any longer, like it was too intense or too much.
Mm.
And my masculine stepping up and him being like, okay, and
Mm.
again, it's like this sort of like brother thing of like, okay, I see you, and good
Mm.
that you're stepping up, and like, nice,
Mhm.
it's your job now. Like,
Mhm.
um and let's see any other, we can take this to the work realm, we can take it, among peers, and there's like a recognition, I guess. There's like a, I would say there's a sense in some men, what I have felt, there's a relaxation, because perhaps they feel that I
Mm.
am not seeking something, again, that projection, that
Mhm.
there's no projection. There's not a seeking of, oh, approve of me, or, oh, complete me, or fulfill
Mhm.
me, or, and I think there's a relaxation. You can relate in a different way. There's not
Beautiful.
so much of
Mhm.
a transaction happening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
Whew. So beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I'm now curious to hear a little bit more about what happens in these 30 days in the man within. It's like
Sure.
a it's
We.
like a 30-day full on. So
Mm.
are you saying, am I understanding this correctly, that for 30 days you're seeking him out, you want to know him, you're like playing with him, you're working with him. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes, yes. So we begin with a shamanic journey to actually meet him and to
Mm.
receive information about, the most basic things like appearance, and even like a name, and the looks, what he wears, age range, that kind of thing,
Mm.
so that we have like an avatar, to work with, which may shift and change and evolve. But then when we do more practices to embody him, we have like this avatar to hop into and move as. So
Mm.
that is useful for that reason. It's not
Mhm.
mandatory, it's just useful and fun. It's quite fun.
Mhm.
and and then also you see like, where are your, really, what is your avatar, like where is your divine masculine coming from, and maybe it's like what ethnicity it has, and what are his like sacred objects, and and totems and so on. So that in itself is like, wow. Because
Mm.
depending on, if you do shamanic work, you can then also work with that and with the magic powers that he brings. um, then we move into deepening this connection. It's like, okay, so who are you? What are you like? What do you like doing? And so we learn about the mature and immature aspects of the masculine. So to see where we're at, to see, okay, I've got that nailed. I'm a great space holder, but in this area here, patience, I don't know,
Mm.
not so good,
Mhm. Mm.
or I find it hard to finish projects, or we start to see where the work of our guy is
Mm.
in terms of evolving and
Mhm.
maturing,
Mhm.
and showing up for the feminine in greater and greater ways.
Mhm.
Yeah. We move into also learning about the dark and light masculine, which is a
Mm.
whole topic. If you want, we can talk about it, but I'll just leave it there for now. Light and dark masculine aspects.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that, and again, we can inform our own guy more, like, where are we at? Where do we need to emphasize? What is the shadow of the light and dark masculine aspect? Ooh, where are we at with that?
Yes.
And
Yes.
throughout it, we also do, practices to deepen connection with him, voice dialogue to talk to him, for our masculine and feminine to talk to each other.
Mhm.
We learn, also we go into emotional alchemy, and how to work with emotional energy as the masculine as well. We have accountability, sort of like challenges, and a way of deepening as a group when we're doing in it as a,
Mm.
as a group
Mm.
of brothers. We have ways to also, kind of encourage each other,
Mhm.
and give each other reflections, and sort of cheer each other on
Mm.
the journey. what else? We talk about processes of initiation and really, this what's been missing in our society, because in ancient cultures, especially in tribal cultures, there's rites of passage, right? From childhood, from infancy into adulthood, it's marked by very distinct rites of passage that acknowledge those thresholds. So we've lost that. And that's why I call this an initiation, because that already taking part in a 30-day container dedicated to this is like, boom, it's a part of you saying, I'm self-initiating. I'm doing this thing for myself that was extracted from culture, from our lineages, and I'm reclaiming it back because I want to be an adult. I don't want to be in this perpetual infancy that the world seems to be in. I want to, step up and show up for the world. So, and finally, we talk about the inner couple, the inner marriage, the beautiful alchemy of it. And I call that like a soul expression, because for me, that's what happens when they come together, poof, and they work in harmony. That's when their divine child is the voice of our soul, is the gift, the unique gift we've come here with, or many gifts. And so that gets born from their union, in my experience.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for describing that and taking us on that little journey. We are rounding out an hour already, and so I just really want to celebrate what you're doing. I mean, I'm fascinated. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. And this is such a solid, I mean, of course, this is like an opinion of mine, but you don't need my opinion nor approval of it, but it feels like just such a solid way for women to be able to understand this, relatively complex and deep soul material. And it's very like digestible. It's very like we can tangibly play with this, what you're describing and what you're providing. So thank you for saying yes to birthing this creation into the world and for holding the spaces that you do. Please feel free to share anything else you want to share, but I also understand that another round of the Man Within is starting soon. So I'd love for you to tell us about that as well.
Sure. Yes, it's going to be the 10th edition. I've done 2 years of it. It's the 10th edition, 250 women. I feel I may come to, I don't know, maybe a pause soon. We'll see. Like maybe it needs to kind of, after this 10th edition, kind of go a bit to rest and brew again and see what new transmissions want to come. But something that's coming up for some reason now to say is that, yes, I've called it the Man Within, and you've said, wow, I never thought of it that way. I've thought of the masculine and so on. And I want to say, sometimes I also think of it like, wow, man, it can seem so polarized and so binary, right? And so I want to say that it is, as you said, the field of the psyche and the soul is complex. And so this name or this way of working with it is just a way to try and synthesize and work with energies that are out there. That the name itself is just, it's a working name, and that absolutely any expression of gender preference or attraction is welcome. I've had non-binary beings, I've had trans women, I've everything you can think of has felt at some point the call, because I've made it welcoming in that way. Because ultimately we're working with universal energies regardless of our identification, so it can be enriching and valuable for anybody that feels called to it. Yes,
absolutely. And you may have said this, but when does it start, the next one? February?
25th of February to 25th of March, 2022.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Mhm.
Well, Clara, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else that you would add that we didn't cover? Or does that feel complete for you?
Ah. Well, maybe that I'm part of ISTA, the ISTA is ISTA, the International School of Temple Arts, and that it's a beautiful school for anyone who wants to deepen personal empowerment. And we do week-long seminars around the world, and also dive into masculine, feminine, soul and animal, and all kinds of integration. So I thought to name ISTA as well is a big part of my soul work as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. We'll put that in the show notes as well.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here, and best to you on this 10th iteration of your soul work. And thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thanks for your work.
Mm-hmm.